like, oh, maybe I should kind of add a little more information, kind of go over some of the basics again. So like literally right before I just made like some note cards. So hi everybody, thanks. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. This is exciting. And I'm thinking of we're gonna be talking about the new earth. Dreaming of a sofa like this? Honestly, this sofa was very affordable off of Amazon. But it's, don't get too crazy on it, is all I'm saying. Hopefully I can edit this out later when it goes up, not just like my random. I am going to upload this after, and hopefully I'll take out this little beginning part. So hopefully I can figure that out. All right, let's see. It's 3 o'clock, guys. So I'm kind of thinking of like, I wasn't really thinking of doing it this way, but then I'm starting to feel like, let's go to class, guys. Let's make it class today. So I made some cards right before coming on, so it's not like they're super extensive, but I do want to go over basically what is, the new earth. What is the new earth? Because there's just so much stuff going around right now where it's been misinterpreted and kind of skewed. And then a lot of people are really just feeling like kind of psyched out on their beliefs. Like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I was so excited about the new earth. And now I see all of these creators talking about how it's toxic and it's dangerous. And, and I feel like that's just because the information is getting skewed and portrayed in the wrong way. And this is very important to me, which is why I take the time to try to give you guys the info as best as I can understand it, Okay, so everybody, what is the new earth? Oh, and by the way, my new earth t-shirt, Earth Shift Happily Now. See you in the 5th dimension. Okay, so the new earth is really just a phrase that we're using to describe this ideal future. So basically, in the future, we can pretty much have any future we would like, on a smaller level, we decide, how we want to live our lives. So when we think about this future that we want, when we say the new earth, it doesn't necessarily mean like this dimensional, it is a dimensional shift, but not in this way that it has kind of been misinterpreted. So the word new earth, the phrase, comes from the Bible originally, which is also another way that this is kind of getting a little tied into Christianity. And obviously, I feel that most religions and beliefs have a lot of similarities. But we want to make a distinction between the practices or the interpretation of those words. So I actually think I have it right here. Yeah, okay. Dolores Cannon, book 2. So, Convoluted Universe, book 2. Hi, guys. So this is like a quote from the Bible that is here when Dolores is talking about the new earth. I saw the new heaven and the new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. And then John, saw the holy city. You guys know where this goes. Okay, so that's where this like term new earth is coming from. But we do have to remember that at the time that the Bible was written, they didn't have the words that we do. They didn't have the word matrix, consciousness, or maybe they did, and we didn't have those words when we were translating it. Maybe the words that we translated were just from our understanding, and those words that originally were said actually do mean consciousness and matrix or, alternate realities. But I digress. So the new earth is basically just a way for us to kind of all be on the same page of what is coming. And this has been what's talked about for a long time, since the biblical times and all of the times that people have interpreted it with these prophecies, because all of these end of the world prophecies, they all basically say like, it goes down, but then there's this golden age, or then there's this like green evolution, or then it's like the earth comes back to like its true self. And so we're gonna just talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to start off with, how is the new earth different than the rapture? Because that just seems to be what a lot of like the negative connotation around it is. So I just want to start off with that, and we'll clear that right away. So the biggest difference between the new earth and the rapture is, well, one is your choice. In the new earth, it's your choice to improve your life and bring your reality to a place that you're happy in the future. And when you look around, you're happy with yourself, your life. So that does take some spiritual stuff, but it also takes a lot of stuff in the real world that we're doing. Okay. The other thing that is most important to remember when we're talking about stuff like this is that, like, the rapture is not really your choice, right? I don't know so much about it because I didn't grow up in a Christian environment like that. So I didn't really learn about it growing up. So I didn't realize initially that, like, when people say Jesus saves, I didn't know what they meant. They say saves you in the apocalypse, right? It saves you at the day of this separation. Okay, but that's the thing, is that in that case, you're not in charge. It's God's decision, or it's Jesus's decision, whether you get to live here or there. That's the number one biggest difference, is that it's no one else's choice but yours to have the future that you want. It's not God's choice, or, you could believe, I'm not saying that you don't believe that God, has any play, that's for everyone to decide for themselves, but they also can decide for themselves every day whether they want to improve their life. So the other thing too that comes up with that is there's a lot of trauma around this. I did not realize the left behind thing. I didn't realize, like, that was something that a lot of people were dealing with. So when they hear stuff like, oh, the world's gonna split, and then, because I was wondering when I had done the New Earth series, why there was so many comments about, will I be left behind? I'm worried about being left behind. And I'm like, why would you be worried about being left behind? You're already doing the things to improve your life. You've already made the conscious decision to create a better future for yourself. And I didn't realize, like, the fear of being left behind was really coming from, like, I didn't even know. I just learned about this, that there's the movie that they make kids watch sometimes in, like, certain Christian families where it's called Left Behind. I was like, that's horrible. That's so scary. I actually did kind of get saved once. It was like, I got, like, tricked into it, and it was, I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, I guess I did sort of know, but I didn't really, pay attention, I guess, in that way. So it didn't traumatize me. But, so that's one of the big things that I want to say, is that there is no really, like, left behind. There is a separation, and we will get into that. But it's your own choice. It's your soul's choice. It's the best thing for you. And it's not a left behind. So we will get into this. Let's see what I have here. So I have a bunch of my Dolores books here, and I put a couple of bookmarks in them. So let's start here. The first thing I want to clear up too is everyone's talking about, like, the way that they've misconstrued the New Earth information. They say basically that, like, Dolores said this, and I'm going to actually just read for you straight out of Dolores Cannon, Convoluted Universe, Book 3. Those who had raised their frequency and vibration would ascend into the new earth as it evolved and lifted into another dimension, thus being invisible to those, quote, left behind. There were several things about this concept that bothered me. I always like to have the answers, and I guess that's my great curiosity. And she goes on about how she wants to dig more into that topic because it concerns her. So a lot of people say that Dolores talks about, like, oh, you're just going to be left behind. And, like, literally the first, like, paragraph of the chapter about it, she said that the idea of people being left behind didn't sit well with her, which is why she dug into this more. So that just goes to say, a lot of times people talking about the left behind, it's a bit different. Okay, so this is going to also, let's see, lead into a couple questions that I actually wrote down. Okay, so Amber on TikTok asked this question. If you go to one timeline, do you exist in another? Which is very, interesting. And we will going to break into that a little bit more, but I'll just tell you what Dolores says in comparison to this New Earth chapter here. Okay. Anytime an individual has to make a decision, they usually have more than one choice. I call this coming to a crossroad. And basically she talks about how when you're at a crossroad and you have two choices to make. This is not specifically about the New Earth. This is about anything. This could be about, am I gonna go to a pizza place today or am I gonna have sushi today? You know, it could be something like that. You have more than one option. And basically, you've put energy into both. You've thought, what would this be like? What would I get there? What would this be like? What would I get there? Do I feel like driving there? Do I feel like this? Now you've put your energy into both. So it creates two parallel realities. So there's one that you're going to perceive, and that's what you're going to live on. However, the infinite realities, not all of them are just always happening. A lot of those other alternate realities are based on your decisions that you didn't make, you know, because you already put conscious effort into them and like breathed life into that timeline. Okay, now I just wanted, because that was just the part that was right there, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about this left behind stuff, because that's like, I think that's what's putting this a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and mine too. Like, I do think that there is going to be, you know, people with different ideals are already moving to different places in the world right now. You know, people living in California are not liking the stuff in California, going to other states. People in some red states are not liking what's going on there. They're going to blue states. So we're already having a lot since the pandemic, a lot of like moving around of different people. So we do see ourselves kind of moving, and there's still so much time in our lives to be able to move to other places too. So this separation of people, let's see, I want to just get the right passage here. Okay. 548. Okay. So here's some of the things that are specifically the actual words. Okay. It is not going to happen the way that people think, where there will be a cataclysm or this or that or the other thing. No. And this is the subconscious mind talking. So that's not Dolores's words. Dolores's words right before that were, yes, that's what I'm trying to help people do in regards to getting information about the shift so they can understand it better. It will just be like you wake up one morning, you think everything's normal, and you're going on, and you will be there. You will notice a difference in resonance, but you will already be there because your resonance is increasing every day already. And so all of a sudden, one day you will reach the prerequisite cycles per second to get you from here to there. Let's explain it this way. If somebody came back right now from the 1800s and looked at you, you would glow to them. You've already reached your cycles per second that would glow to a human from, say, the 1800s. So in essence, your cycles per second are already raising. And then another excerpt, a couple pages next, she explains it a little bit more. So Dolores asks the question, I was thinking maybe the body could get to a point that it could just maintain itself until the soul was ready. Okay, that's a little bit, sorry. This was the answer to that, but that was out of context. If you have many people making this transition, let's say that the frequency has to be approximately 44,000 cycles per second in order to make a frequency shift. Not everyone is going to be at that frequency shift at that time. You're going to have different variables in the frequency shift. There will be those of you who are still on the front line, who are on the cutting edge, even on the other side, even in the new world. Do you understand? Because there will always be those frequency variations between people. So when we're talking about this whole like raise your vibration and you're not going to be on the bad timeline, and then there's people left behind, we're actually talking about that like everyone is raising. You know, that's the reason you're a bridge to help others raise their cycles per second so that they can make the shift. The faster you raise more people, they activate other people with their frequencies and vibrations. So what you are doing is activating more and more people on the planet, which activates others, which raises the frequency of the entire planet. Do you understand? It's all cycles. Everything affects everything else. You have people that come to Earth that don't have to do anything. They are strictly activators. Their energy fields activate other people's. You have those that are working very hard and diligently, like broadcasters. That's how I feel right now. They broadcast it out over the planet like a microwave signal. Okay. I want to talk a little bit more just about that with those left behind, and then I'll move on to the next topic. And if you guys have any questions after, we can go over it or ask me in the comments and I'll respond. Dolores says, I've been told not everybody is going to make this shift into the new world. The subject. This is correct. When the earth is going to make a shift, there's the idea that many souls are allowed in for experience because you experience many things in your growth as a soul. That basically, this shift is a part of all these souls' evolution. So on all sides of the spectrum, whatever future people want to live, if they want to live a future that's better, or they want to kind of just succumb into like this storyline that everything's getting worse and not do anything about it, not change anything, not improve themselves, then also that's their, that's their choice. But it's also part of the growth of their soul. So this is the big thing that it's talking about with these is that, and I'll get there, I have it marked off in here, and it's really interesting because the way they talk about it is that it's more of a soul shift, that the planet can stay the same, which is why it's basically the same planet, but the souls have changed. The souls have lifted to a new level of consciousness, where now they are in that dimension. And I'll just explain that in a sec. Let me finish this. You have many levels of students all in the same room, and they all benefit from each other. But there finally comes a time when the students need to move on, and that means those who are left behind will be in other places after that. Meaning, like when we talk about these soul schools, Earth's is not going to be that type of soul school anymore. It's like graduated from that level. Okay, let me check my notes here before I get too off track. Okay, people who aren't awakened. So Mindy asked this. She wanted to know about the people who aren't awakened, kids, all of these people, animals. If they're not awakened, what about them? How do we get them? So that's a big thing. The other misconception is that people don't have to believe in any of this in order to like live in a better future. And that gets to something I'm going to say later, but we can go into it now, is this whole idea of like system busters. So this comes from Bringers of the Dawn. And what they talk about is basically there's different system busters in the world. So some people, like I see myself, and the way that they talk about it in this book is that there's some system busters who basically can go into a matrix, explain what's happening in the matrix, understand it, embody it, and shift the matrix, which is really what, what I talk about in the Earth Shift series. So these system busters, there's all different types of system busters in the world. There's people who are doing it within like the consciousness side, but also there's people who do it in the political side, or for children, or for animals, or for the environment. There's or just people who run their businesses in a way that is not part of these like capitalistic ways. They find a balance. Those are all system busters. So we're all puzzle pieces playing different parts of how we're going to bust this system of Earth. So let's see. Okay. Let me come back to this one. Okay, so here's the important question. Okay, so this is what I was answering, is what about the people who aren't awakened and all of that? And I just said it in my own words, but now let's see in the words of the subconscious mind. Do people on Earth see when this happens? Like meaning that this Earth shift. They will feel it. In other words, they will go through a transformation and they won't recognize what has happened to them. Some of them will realize, those who are sensitive, who will know that something has happened. But many on this planet will just go about their normal lives, and they will be lifted up, and they will be changed, and the earth will be changed. The rocks and the water, but they'll just go on existing. Everything will still be here, and it will still exist, but it's going to exist in a different way, slightly different way, because we are not affecting our karmic pattern. So this is the difference. When we shift into the new earth, it's the karmic pattern. So the reason why earth has been a school is because it's a school to learn lessons and play out karma on this karma wheel. So it's like basically like, look, like the karma wheel has done its full cycle. It doesn't need to continue on this planet. So now there'll be other schools on other, planets, which someone has a question about planets. I'm going to get to that at the end. Other places, other planes, whatever these other levels of existence are. All the dimensions are probably all here right now, so they could be in the same place. But regardless, the change is the karma, that it's no longer going to be a karma place, which allows the people to evolve, because most of the reason, or some of the reason, why we're experiencing certain patterns in our life is because they're karmic. So if the world is no longer a karmic school, our souls will be changed. And in order for that to happen is we have to really work through and heal our karma. We're doing this on a soul level. And it's not going to affect their earth lives as much as their karmic patterns go. So basically, this shifting into a higher level of consciousness is really breaking free from that karmic cycle. Let's see, what was one of my other ones? Okay. So, what will physically happen? This comes from Kristen on TikTok. She wants to know, and I mean, it's understandable. What is going to physically happen? We literally are being told so many things from so many places, and even the pole shift too. That's just one of the things that comes up. But if you also notice in the Earth Shift series, the pole has been moving already. So like this shift doesn't need to be violent or aggressive. If people don't change, but people already are changing every day. We already see it happening. So we are healing the karma, but this is also the thing where it kind of goes like people misinterpreting it, believing like, oh, just if you believe in this, then you're automatically saved in a way. You're going to the new earth. But the reality is that like, it's not just about believing in something. You have to really do the karmic healing so that we can evolve our souls. So I actually here have a little to-do list. I told you, I wrote down all this stuff right before, so I'm not super organized. But if I did want to do this as like a class or something, different topics, I would be much more organized, and I wouldn't do it live. I would edit out anything that when I'm getting distracted. Okay, so I just wrote this before I started. So New Earth, like to-do list, okay? Because it's not just like, oh, believe in New Age anything, because every single different religion and belief system is going to live in a better future if they want to. So it's not about a belief system. It would be about the frequency. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about the frequency, that you raise your frequency. How do you raise your frequency? You're separating from your karma, from all of your stuff. Okay. So the first thing on your New Earth to-do list, you have to make a choice. You make a choice to decide that like, I believe the future that I want is possible. That's the number one thing you have to do. I believe that this future that we all can live prosperous and happy, and everyone has what they need, and everyone contributes in the way that they are uniquely in this world for, not as like some job that makes them feel so far from themselves. No, like what they contribute to the world. Not everyone's an artist. Everyone has something to contribute, and people can contribute in those different ways without feeling locked down to like this horrible system that really doesn't serve. So we got to believe that it's possible. 2, then becomes the manifesting. You believe it because you do need belief in order to be able to manifest first. And like I talk about it 100 times. I'll talk about it again. From Marina Jacobi's Quantum Manifestation, she channeled it from Pleiadians, and it comes down to, in order to manifest anything, but especially the new earth, we have to think about it and visualize it. So you think about, get it very clear what you want in your mind. And it doesn't need to be like all like the details of the house, but if that works for you, how you like to manifest, go for it. For me, I like to just kind of see like this overarching, when I do the new earth stuff, I kind of like to see an overarching, just like a nice, like beautiful, like community, city, everything is just like, but it's totally possible, people just need to be healed, because trauma is the reason that a lot of people are acting the way that they are in the world anyway. So if we can really work past those things and be nurturing of people when they are experiencing it, we can make a big difference. So that's kind of, okay, so we're thinking about the new earth. We believe in it, that it can happen. Step 1. Step 2, the manifesting. We're thinking about what it would be. What would this world be like that is just perfect for all of us to live in? Not that there's no problems, but just like everybody is fine. And next, we're going to speak it into reality, Earth shift happily now. We are saying it. We're thinking it. We're seeing it. We're speaking it. Then you got to feel it. How would it feel and this is what the thing is if you're manifesting, you pretty much have to get all your senses going. So, and this is exactly only a small part. This whole shifting a planet is a big job, guys. So the manifesting is hard. It's an intense part of manifesting, but that's like literally only the beginning. We get the emotion. How great would that feel? It would just feel amazing if everyone was fine and we just knew that everybody had food, everybody was taken care of, everybody had, people, everybody. It's amazing. That would feel amazing. So sit in those emotions as you visualize it. And then the action, the most important part. So the action, now planning can be action. Action doesn't have to be like, sticking a shovel in the ground right away. Action, there's a lot of different ways to act on things, even if it's research, say you want to research intentional communities. That is taking some action. Like, it's not as much as like, building up the walls yourself right now, but it takes step. And you got to just remember there's little steps and we're all working toward it. Because even the people who don't, follow these type of ideals and beliefs or see the world going in that direction, they're fighting for a better world too. So they're also still visualizing a better earth, So it's like we really are all working towards the same thing in all these different belief systems, political, religious, everything. What people want to do with their bodies, how they want to, take care of themselves, Everyone makes their decisions of what works for them, but most people want things to get better. So some of the other things too, about basically taking action. So there's a lot of different ways, taking action could be something, we're starting small, could be something as journaling about it. Journal about what it would be a day in the life living in your community in the future. And it doesn't have to be like, I want an intentional community, but you could maybe not be down for that. That's totally fine too. You create it however you want. Maybe you just want your property and having some nice neighbors around, but everything is still, and it's just like your family and your property. There's no one way of what it needs to look like. The thing that is the one way is like, people need to heal. They need to heal from, and we're already doing that as a collective. So that's the thing too. When people like say about the new earth being crazy, I'm like, dude, we're already doing it all. Like, it's just literally some people like us are people who, that's the system we're trying to bust. So we're very specific to it, but it is happening all over. Okay, the 4th is the action of healing. So we are doing your choice. Number 1, you believe in it. Number 2, you manifest it. Number 3, you start taking steps, even if it's just journaling and planning and looking at stuff online and getting yourself going. It'll fall into place. If you believe it at the end, the universe will bring things. The 4th action is the action of healing. And this really comes down to forgiveness. I say it all the time. Forgiveness is everything. I get it. There's people that I was told I had to forgive. Like when I first learned this stuff, it took me 6 years to forgive them. So seriously, don't feel like you're in a rush. You have all the time that you need to be able to forgive people. It's not that easy to just say, What I think helps with forgiveness is understanding. Sometimes, but I am a little bit more of a thinker than a feeler. So, but for me, thinking like, why would someone do this? What was their upbringing like? This was their parents. Maybe they have this type of experience. And when you really start to see like why someone was so messed up to do something messed up to you, you can actually, and this is not about having sympathy for them. It's about understanding. It's not like feeling bad for the person. Because sometimes then we do that and then we feel bad for them. We become empathetic and then we just kind of create this cycle to keep going. So it's not about feeling the empathy. The empathy is great. But really understanding like, what made this person? If this person is a monster, what made this monster? And usually it's not, because they just wanted to be bad. There's I believe, very few people that actually want that. I think they become that way. So even that, in order for everything to change, we have to start forgiving those people too, because us holding on to it is only holding our soul in a karmic little nook. You're kind of like stuck in a little karma divot. So the other thing too with the forgiveness is really understanding that we are all one. And when people do bad things to you, there's a really, like this book here, which you guys know from TikTok, I read the bedtime story, The Little Soul and the Sun. This book is like, if I read it right now, I'll cry. But it basically, talks about how there only is the light. And the only reason the dark exists is so that the light could see itself and know what it is. So if we really do start to think of we're all different parts of one thing, then you think about like, what are the lessons I learned? And also like, what if I was in their position? So I'm excited about all of that. We're doing the healing journey. Forgiveness is number one. Understanding is a great way to get to forgiveness, but also it takes time. Like seriously, I've been so into this material for so long and literally it took me 6 years. So don't feel like you have to rush into forgiving when you're not ready to. Just try to think of a little bit more and like an understanding from your mind what would create that in a person. And then the next step is really to accept that we don't have it all figured out. This is like never really happened. This is like something completely different. So we don't have all the answers and we need to accept that because, I love Dolores's material, but I also know that it's like everything, just like the Bible only had those words at that time. Dolores only had those words at the time. The subjects only had those words. So we also have to be understanding is that like our perception could totally change at what we think any of these things are. And that brings us once again to the system busters. Because the system busters are going to go the extra mile on these certain topics. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this is from Barbara Marciniak's Bringers of the Dawn. This is channeled by Pleiadians in like 1992, I think this was published. But I wanted to talk about being the system busters, because that's really where I got that term from, is from this book, is them talking about coming here. So this one paragraph I'll read for you. We are very much renegades where we are. As we said, in our own system, it is in need of transformation. We are working as a bridge or a link through the family of light in a variety of systems in order to change our own system. Okay, so a little bit of context. The family of light, they say if you're reading this book, you're probably a family of light, that there's these different beings all over, and we're all family of light. These, people say light workers or all these things. Those words all get negative ideas because people have ego problems and use them to justify the beliefs that they already had, But the reality of it is this family of light is like similar to like a light worker thing, like people who feel that they come from a part of the universe which light originates, and that's where they're broken from, which we're all really from there. Okay. And what they're saying, the Pleiadians are saying that in order to change the system that is in the universe and the system on their planet, they're connecting with other planets to change those systems because they realize that we're all connected. So if Earth can go through a shift, their planet goes through a shift, and the whole galaxy goes through a shift. So a link through the family of light in a variety of systems in order to change our own system. Your raising of consciousness through love and responsibility nourishes us. It replenishes us and it expands our consciousness so that we may evolve further. Therefore, as we are friends and guides and assistants to you, that they assist you as well. And hold on. As members of the family of light, you agreed to come here to Earth many times, in many guises and in many different time frames, to learn the ropes, to figure out the character, and to become trained. You needed the experience on Earth in order to prepare yourself for a time when a frequency alteration would begin to occur, and you would all incarnate in large numbers to bring the plan into action. Oh, the page lost. But see what it's saying? It's like you did all these lifetimes on Earth to practice the game so that you come into the game, you already know how to be a human, you got this down, and now you're ready for this time that all come here at once, work together, and do it. Okay. 6:45. Okay, so now about being the system busters. This is coming back from Dolores Cannon's book, Convoluted Universe, Book 2, page 645. Don't get caught up with what's going to happen because you have to focus on the light. And that's going to be the challenge for these people who are coming to Earth to create the new Earth. The challenge for them is going to be not getting caught up in all that's happening, because that's what pulls them back down to the third dimension. And that's what happened to many people who were on a path forward. They get pulled back and they get caught up in fear and sadness and regret, all the dark stuff. Focus on the good. Focus on the fact that there's going to be this beautiful new existence moving forward. She asks, are you going to be in the same body? And it says, yes, you are going to be in the same body. It's just that the soul has changed. Another thing on that. So imagine your thought becoming energy. So this is coming back to that manifestation stuff. That's why there's so many different things about this that all add together. And, you know, I hope I'm doing a good job of bringing them together. But honestly, next time I would probably prefer to do this not live and then edit it. But that's for next time. So imagine your thoughts becoming energy, and the more energy you give it, the stronger it becomes. And then it manifests, and then it becomes real. It becomes physical. If you send a thought out, that's going out, that's going to be peace, and you follow through with it, and then say, oh, but the war is getting worse, or those politicians are making a big mistake. You weaken the positive energy strands that you just brought out. So basically, when you say, I'm manifesting a future of peace, but then you say, oh man, things are so messed up, the world's getting so much worse, oh God, this is that. It's easy to fall into, because we see that. We have to hold on to this idea of like, okay, even though things are hard right now, we're moving through, and what is at the end is better. And I don't know why people kind of bash the new earth sometimes, when that's literally the basis of every single goal setting. We're literally just setting a goal for the future. Yeah, and then you just use your ideas to create manifestations in your mind, and then you can pull them into reality. Okay, now how do we do this on a really big scale? So like you improving yourself and healing your karma and stuff, and you doing all this interpersonal work, how does that affect the whole? And this is the other thing that a lot of people kind of, who don't like the new earth concept, that it gets misconstrued of what people are saying, is that like, it's so self-centered. Oh, you think you're so like great that like you getting better is gonna change the whole planet. And it's like, yeah, because of the holographic model of the universe, okay? Okay? And that's what I'm gonna get into now. So the holographic model of the universe. So basically, the holographic model of the universe. What is a hologram? A hologram is a image made up of light reflecting. So the light is reflecting, it's creating an image. Now that image, when you say cut a hologram in half, like say right now there's like a, Michael Jackson hologram, because we've seen that on TV. So the Michael Jackson hologram, he's there, whatever, he's moonwalking. If you were to cut that hologram in half, you would not have, in like real life, you cut this in half, now the two, but these are not two wholes, these are two halves because you pulled it in half. Now when it's a hologram, when you cut it, so like say you have the hologram, when you cut it in half, it becomes two wholes because each part has all of the information of the whole within it. So it's a different type of picture, which is the reason why it's not just like, one of these pictures, a two-dimensional picture. The hologram, the real life, what we believe in most things is like the whole gets split, it becomes half and half. But a hologram, when it gets cut, it's two wholes. So that goes to show us that every single thing, if our world is a hologram, which they believe that our universe is a hologram, that means that every small thing is basically a pattern of the big thing. So this is, the hologram is an image, but it's a pattern. So basically, we see this in literature, when poetry, when they say the entire world in the grain of a sand. And then we also see it in this like idea of like the microcosm, macrocosm analogy, how they basically say that the entire universe is inside of you. So like say we have cells, but we could be the cell of the galaxy, so just one human, the way we have a cell in our body, I could be one cell, you could be one cell, all of us could just be one cell in a bigger thing. And then it makes you think too, all of these things were basically, we see this pattern, you see your veins, they look the same as rivers flow, and the roots of trees or the branches of trees. We see all these things in nature, these same patterns. We see when you look at our eye, it looks like a galaxy when you look at it. And then that had me thinking, okay, so if it is this pattern and all of these things are kind of adding up, what if our galaxy, this is totally not the New Earth information, this was just a thought that I had when I was writing this stuff down. What if our galaxy is like someone's eyeball? Like literally, it could be. Like that could be the level of this pattern that's happening. We don't know how big it goes. We think it goes to the universe. What if the universe is literally just an eyeball of a bigger being? So who knows? But this is what we're talking about, the pattern. So when we see these patterns, that means that actually the way to change the outside is by changing the center. So, we start off like in the center, that's where you change. So when you change, it's going to ripple out to other people around you. Then it goes to the next step. It's going to go out to the world, then to the universe, then to who knows where beyond the universe. So when we're using the holographic model, when we have like basically this image of a hologram, they basically, quantum physics, they theorize that the universe is a hologram, our reality is a hologram, and that basically our brain is a hologram tuner. So our mind, which the guys who really pioneered those thoughts about our mind being able to control the hologram, hate the word mind, but that's for another video. They really don't like the word mind. They use the word brain, which is an important distinction there. But okay, how do we use the holographic model to shift the universe then? Is my sound off? Okay. Oh no. Let's see here. Well, thanks you guys for telling me. Let me know if it gets any better. I don't know if there's something I can do. Oh, it's vibrating. Wow. Wow. Okay, so Caitlin just said if you study the Hebrew alphabet, they included the basic pattern of the code. Oh, all of you guys are having bad sound. Let me see if there's anything I can do. Wow, that is so weird. It's back? Okay, yes. Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me know. Oh, that's great. Because this part was really important. Okay, so I'm glad you guys all let me know, and I thank you so much. Aw, you guys are great. Okay, how can we use the holographic model to shift the planet? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. And this is the same thing that goes back to all Eastern traditions, Buddhism, Hinduism, everything, where they basically talk about how you're everything. God is all of us. We are all one. We are all fractals of the same source creator. That's basically what the hologram model is saying in scientific terms. They're defining it in those scientific terms. So when we use those models, which come from these Eastern religions, we see them, that pattern again of what they're saying talked about in literature, in all of these things in philosophy, and now in quantum physics. So if we see that we're a part of everything, then all you really need to do, oh, so, oh boy, my sound, oh, okay. Have I studied Nassim Haramein? Yes, I have. I really love his work. I think you think I need to get closer to my thing? Sure, I'll come closer. I know, every time I talk about the hologram, the YouTube is like, nope. Okay, so I'll move past the hologram. Okay, when I talk slow, it's better. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's what I tell my brother on the phone all the time, that if he talks slower, he breaks up less. That's what I'm wondering. Should I go and then come back? I think that's what I'm gonna do. Okay. I'll be right back, guys, for part 2, okay?